Hey, you guys! Welcome to The Spark. It's the show where two moms conversate about the joys and the struggles of life and business. And we also provide the strategies to help you simplify in both. I am Danielle Phelps. I am from Passion Profit CEO, passionprofitceo.com. And this is my lovely co-host.
I'm Nicole Nelson from NicoleNelsonMomCoach.com. And this is episode 4 already. It's kind of crazy. Today, we're talking about balancing your roles and creating structure in both your life and your business. But before we begin, let's go ahead and start with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together to discuss these difficulties in our lives of finding balance in our lives and understanding what it means to have true balance, understanding what it means to have peace in you, Lord. We ask that you guide our conversation today to really speak to each one of us, that we all hear what needs to be heard and say what needs to be said so that we can ultimately glorify you in all things and everything we do and in every action we take in our lives and our businesses, with our families, our children, our husbands, and all of the responsibilities and circumstances we find ourselves in, Lord. And we ask you to bless it. We ask you to bless today, bless each one who comes and watches this show today, Lord. We ask for your blessing on everyone in our group. And we ask you to just bless this show. And we thank you, Lord, again, for this opportunity to just come together and learn how to glorify you more. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So today we're supposed to be talking about the roles in life and how to create that structure to be able to do all of that. But I just want to tell you guys, I'm going totally off topic right here at the beginning. My internet's acting sluggish, so of course my eyes were open during prayer. But how often is it that we have something going on and it kind of is on topic, because it's like, oh gosh, this is gonna be good, Nicole. If I can ever get it out. Oh my gosh. So how often in your life are you supposed to be focused on one thing, but because there's so many things going on, you can't completely be focused? I could not be focused on that prayer. I was literally over here trying to fix my internet and make sure that I was in the center of this thing, because I feel like I'm sitting off sideways today. Hi, Amy Ray. We see you. And it's just like, this is a part of it. This is a part of that structure and pulling it into that, just what everybody's wanting, that structure of having a schedule that really helps you to define what area is what area of life and to truly be able to be sufficient in those areas. But the truth is, I'm going to let Nicole take it from here. It's not like that. You almost have to just combine them all together at some point, and it's about balance. But when we say balance, it's not, this is balance. It's not that way. It's like this, constantly going back and forth. So I'm going to let Nicole take it from here.
I like one time I was thinking about balance, and there was a talk I went to, and I loved her analogy where it's not really balance, it's harmony. And how each of our roles play in harmony with one another. And sometimes there's something that's going to take more of priority, and other times it's going to come down a notch. But it's all going to fluctuate and have this harmony so that all plays a beautiful song together, the beautiful song of life on this journey. And I've kind of used that throughout my coaching and throughout my life as a reminder that it's not all going to be equal, and that's okay. And kind of like with Danielle, what Danielle was saying was, if you're looking for a 100% foolproof plan and a foolproof routine, you're setting yourself up for failure, because that's just not realistic. It really doesn't work that way. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not. It's not about it's not about having this perfect evenly spaced all your ducks in a row. Life is messy and that's okay. And we are going to have moments where we're going to have to spend more time on an area than others, but we can also still touch those other areas that are important to us, even in times of high priority in a specific area. Because there's always going to be those focuses, but there's also going to be that underlying, this is what needs to happen in order to function. Because at the most basic level, certain things have to be done. That's also reality. There are certain things that have to be done, but you get to choose what those things are. And this is where we talk about staying in our own lane all the time, is because we want to look at what someone else is doing, what that person's doing, instead of just looking at, okay, what do I need to do? What do I feel called to do during this time, during this season? I love to talk about it in terms of seasons because that's what it is. I mean, just like we have spring, summer, fall, and winter, we have seasons of life that we go through, and there are different beautiful aspects to each of those seasons. I mean, we're not going to have, I mean, okay, I know I'm not talking for every corner of the world, but where I am on the eastern United States, I'm not going to have flowers all year long. That's not a realistic expectation of me to see flowers outside my window all year long because it's going to snow during the winter. It's going to be cold and the flowers aren't going to be able to survive, and that's okay. So there are going to be seasons of our life. What are you laughing at?
I was just thinking, I'm totally going to go buy some fake flowers and put them outside your window.
They're not real. They're not real.
Yeah, but that's how my mentality is. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way. She bursts my bubble all the time, you guys, because I am that super, it's supposed to be this way. And she bursts my bubble all the time of, Danielle, it's not got to be the way that you think it's got to be.
But it kind of goes back. I know it feels off, this kind of almost feels off topic, but it's not.
Amy's saying that she lost us. I still think I'm having an internet issue.
We're still here, according to, I don't know. We'll keep going and see what happens.
Okay. She said life is messy, and life is definitely messy.
But it kind of goes back to our conversation. We had a conversation the other day, or yesterday, or today. I don't know. At some point, we had a conversation, and it goes back to that we can look at it. We can look at these challenges that come up in our lives. We can look at these difficulties, and we can look at them with a negative perspective and say, this is horrible, this is bad. But the thing is, it's those challenges that help us to grow and help us to stretch and help us to learn more about ourselves and help us to grow better in relationship with others. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at that perspective with our schedules, we can say, how can this help me grow? And that means either maybe I need to, it's okay if I take on a little bit more, I need to stretch in this area, or I need to learn how to set better boundaries and say no to certain things and be better at saying yes to the right things. And sometimes saying yes to the right things is only going to be through more of a trial and error situation where you might have to try it. You might have to say yes and discern that you're supposed to say yes, and then find out that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said yes, or maybe I should have said not as full of a yes. And I know Amy, oh my goodness, Amy's watching. Danielle, it kind of goes back to my situation this week with our homeschool pod, where I'm realizing it's a much bigger responsibility, even though I'm not doing a ton of, I'm really not doing any teaching. I'm just in the nursery. It's a lot on my schedule of 16 hours a week, being as an introvert with a bunch of people and a bunch of littles and everything else that I've going the rest of the days of the week, and knowing that, okay, I took this on, and now I'm going to try to see how and if I can cut back, because I'm noticing that it is affecting different aspects of the other areas of my life and my family negatively. And when that happens, that's my cue that something needs to change a little bit with a certain thing. So I'm still working through that right now. I don't have a solution for myself fully right now. I just emailed the lady who heads it up, and we're starting that process of figuring out a better solution. But that's what it takes sometimes. It's understanding that you can set your schedule. You can say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And then knowing when you need to tweak. It's having that self-awareness of how am I going to tweak this, or giving it a few weeks and saying, okay, something does need a tweak. What needs to change? What needs to change for this to work better? Yeah. So that's kind of where I am now with that specific thing in my own life. And it's something we always go through.
It definitely is. Like, because in my schedule, like you've seen it change so many times. And it's like I time block. I literally time block every aspect of my life. And Nicole's like, okay, because it is overwhelming. If you guys were to see my schedule, I can share one of my schedules in the group or something sometime, but it's like it's blocked. Every spare second of my time is blocked. So it always feels to me like I have no free time, even though I have all this free time that I could move things around. It's because I'm so structured in my life that I feel like I've got to stick to the structure. I can't miss something. I got to stick to the structure. And Nicole's reminding me all the time, like, you can move things around. You have that freedom to move things around. Just because you're supposed to schedule content on Mondays doesn't mean you have to schedule content on Mondays. Trade it for something else or move it around the way that you need to. And I'm just like, oh, really? Change the schedule? I can't change the schedule. And so it just goes into it goes back to our personalities. And this is what I do in business. And I help you to create that structure based on your personality. But it really boils down to thinking about that lifestyle that you want to live. And then you start working backwards from that, because the lifestyle is the focus. That's what we really want to hone in on here. And that's what Nicole helps you do too, when you're putting that hierarchy in place of God, family, and then everything else that comes after that. But it's like, you have to think about that lifestyle that you want to live first and what that requires of you. You got to assess those freedoms that you want in your life. And then whenever you're planning your business out, you plan that out around all of that. So that way you can have it. If you want 2 vacations a year, what seasons do you want those vacations? What does that look like? So that way you can plan your business out around that, and you're not sacrificing the things that you truly want. Because that was my ordeal when I was in network marketing. When I very first started in network marketing, back then it was going to home parties. You were going out to other people's houses, having parties. You were away from your family. And when I got into that and I started going to all those parties, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, yes, I want to make money, but this is no different than a regular job. Like, I'm having to be away from my family when that was the initial reason I wanted to have a stay-at-home job. And it was like, okay, so why am I doing this again? And then it went to, okay, let's get savvy here and figure out a way to do this from home. Hey, Kat. And it's like, how can we do this? How can we have this business, but do it from home in a way that suits my introvertedness, but allows me to focus on my family being first and me raising my little ones and doing what I need to do because I want that focus with family first. And then, you work backwards from that and put in the things that those highest values to you. And then you work backwards from that. And that's what Nicole was saying. When those values, you can start feeling them being pulled, and they're the things that you're sacrificing, and it's not working the way that you're wanting it to work. And you can feel it, and your attention's just not where you've been wanting it to be. That's just like this season. But all 3 of our boys that live here with us are in sports. We've got 2 in football, 1 in basketball. And the thing that I value the most is eating meals together. That supper time meal is very, very important to my family. It's not so much that we have to all be eating the same meal. Yes, that's kind of a big thing for me, because I want that meal to be that healthy meal that my children eat, because I know that they're eating a healthy meal because they're not at school eating something. And it's like, it's important for me to us not only eat together, but eat a good meal. But it's like that was being sacrificed this season during ball. And it's like, this is a totally different level for us. With all of them being involved, I'm being pulled in so many directions, trying to be in two places at once, and suppers aren't getting cooked. And when we get home, we're all exhausted and just almost ready for bed. And it's like, how do we fit this in? Because that's the thing that we value. And so it's been a whole new challenge this season of trying to figure out how to manage that so that that value that I had was still a priority. And that goes back to what we were talking about the other day in our goals. You really got to be aware of those priorities that you have. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's setting those values that you have and putting those things first.
Yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes there are seasons where it's like, I don't feel like I have these values, I have these needs in my family, and I don't know how I can mesh them together. And sometimes it doesn't have to look, it won't look perfectly. And it's okay if it doesn't look perfectly. So, you know, how can you get creative? What can you tweak? Can you, you know, have a fan, like just taking Danielle's, example, can you have one family meal a week and start there, kind of a thing? What is something you can do with the parameters that you find yourself, the boundaries that you find yourself constricted by and that you feel constricted by, and where can you open something up, or what can you implement that will help to satisfy some of that value, even if it isn't 100% perfect? A lot of times we like to give it all or nothing, and we forget that there can be some middle ground here, that there can be a little bit of a, what's the word that I'm looking for? I forget what the word is looking for, but when we can give up a little bit.
What's the word? I'm rubbing off on you.
Well, it's a word I'm looking for. I don't know, word retrieval issues are a deal. But it's when it's like usually talk about two people, when one person gives up something and the other person gives up another something, and they come together on a better, they kind of meet in the middle on it. It's like your values can meet in the middle too, and find that a different kind of balance, a different kind of harmony that works for the current season that you find yourself in, with the current circumstances that you have, if you really truly cannot change something or the things in your life. So like, what are those? And then really understanding, okay, if nothing else happens, which I talk about with my clients all the time, is what are your minimums? If you have values in all these different areas, what cannot be, in order to feel fully, you have your ideals, and that will make you feel fully, completely in line with what your schedule entails. But then there's those minimums that you have to hit in order for your life to function well, in order to feel like it is moving in harmony, and understanding where those are and what they look like, and really defining those and making sure that happens on a weekly basis, or whatever that time frame is that you set for yourself in that minimum, to touch those different areas. Because really, when it comes down to it, our values surround people, or are about the people around us, most of the time. Like, it's usually more family time, or being able to provide for our family is a value. But you wouldn't want to, most of the time, for people like us, it's all about how can our family's quality of life be better, and what does that look like on a whole, what is needed. And I forgot where I was going with this, but it's like really understanding all of that about what you're looking at in your schedule, and really honing in on those areas, so that you can then pinpoint the different things you need to do so that you can hit those values that you have.
It's really a holistic approach to meshing life and business together, so that way you can truly experience everything that you want to experience from both sides. But again, what this whole group is about, simplifying it all, so that way you can just enjoy the journey that you're on. Because, you know, Nicole is so good at this. Like, you guys, I'm telling you, if you're struggling with this, reach out to her, because she brings this sense of peace to you of, I don't have to be at my goal yet. It's like, it comes to, sometimes we push ourselves too hard in all the areas, and we need to just accept that we're growing, and that we're going to grow at our own pace, and that, you know, some things are going to take some time. Yes, we want to be a better mother today, and we want to love our kids better, and we want to make sure that they know that we love them, but it's like, that takes time. It takes, you know, those interactions with each other to make that happen, and that communicating effectively. And if you're not a good communicator, it goes into, that's a whole nother challenge. Like, you have to learn and develop yourself to be able to do that. And so it's really truly honing in the holistic view of what it is that you want that lifestyle to look like, putting those values first, and then figuring out, you know, what am I going to be okay with if something has to fall off the schedule right now? What is that bottom priority? And what Nicole was saying a while ago, she was saying, you know, those different categories, I like to call them the good, better, best categories. Like, good is, you know, if this happens, it's good, it's a check mark for the day. But if something else happens on top of that, then that's just ecstatic, and I'm like, so exciting. And then if it's like the absolute best, and you have the best day ever, like, voila, let's, you know, get the balloons and have the confetti and all the things. Like, that's just the best day. And we gotta be realistic here. Not every day is going to be our best day.
It also means that not every day has to be your worst day either. And that's the hope we want to bring to you, is that you can have those best days. They
Mhm.
do exist, they can happen, and they can happen for you. And it's really understanding what that looks like in your own life, because we are all unique. My days look nothing like Danielle's days, and Danielle's days look nothing like mine. So, you know, we have very similar stories, very similar belief systems, very similar values, but we still have very different lives. And that's the beauty in all of this. And it's understanding how your story and your roles and your values play into your day-to-day routine, play into how you structure your time, how to end your day, and really hone in on those values that you have.
Absolutely. And Amy Ray says, today is not the best day. And we just want you to know that we are praying for you, Amy. Like, some of you guys have a lot of stuff going on in the background right now. And we just want you to know, you know, we're praying for you every single day. I can't speak for Nicole, but I pray for this group every single day and the members in it, because y'all are on our hearts. We know that this is not an easy journey. Life in itself is not an easy journey. Then you get these entrepreneurs, and you're putting entrepreneurship into that. You're really putting a lot on yourself, and the roles and the responsibilities, it's kind of like the laundry. They just pile up, and it honestly feels like, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle it all? I'm just one person. That's why the support of this community is so important, because honestly, you need other people to let you know that you're not alone. Because if you think that you're alone and you're trying to do it all, like, that is the worst possible feeling in the world. But all of us are out here doing the best that we can every day, whether that's good, better, or best, but we're doing our best, and that's all we can do. And some days that looks a lot better than other days, but we're all still winning every single day.
Yeah. And just like, you know, Danielle was saying, we are all here to support one another. We've talked about this before, how we have weaknesses and strengths. And when we can really pull those together and get to know one another in a way that develops and really supports that community, like, that's the purpose. It's not so that, you know, we can just be a bunch of girls who gab all the time, but some people who can really lean in, so we can lean in onto each other when we're having a bad day, or when we say, I don't know how to do this, or I can't do this, or this is not one of my strengths, and say, can you help me? And being able to say that and not feel like you have to do it on your own, because the point is not to do it on your own. We weren't created to live in isolation. We weren't created to do everything on our own. We were created to live in community, to support one another, and to really help balance each other out in a way, by our strengths and our weaknesses. It's like two opposites of a magnet. They join, they're complete opposites, the strength and the weakness, but then they join together on each end, and it's us coming together, supporting one another and making us stronger, because that's what community is. It makes you stronger, it makes you better.
Golly,
And
Nicole, what you got going on over there?
I don't know, it's my family. We have 2 weddings coming up and everyone's chatting and it's popping up on my phone. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Period. You guys see, life is chaos. When you want those focus moments, it's not gonna happen. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
It really, it's like, okay, even with like, usually you see all my kids coming at me. My sister has the 2 youngest ones right now while the other ones are at school, and that's why they're not coming at me today. But it's those little bits of focus when you can, and then understanding, okay, this is where we are right now. This is the season that I'm in, and that's okay. I don't have to act like so and so who doesn't have any young children at home, or Danielle who has no children at home.
I think you said something a while ago, and I was like, I don't know anything about that. I don't have little kids at home anymore.
But it's like, we can always, like, going back to that, we can always look for someone else and look at what we don't have or what they have that we don't, instead of understanding, okay, this is where God has us right now, and it's a beautiful place to be. Mm-hmm. It might not always be easy. You can ask me about my weekend later. That was not easy. It was good. It was a wedding, but I was alone. So imagine that.
You weren't alone. You had all those kiddos.
Exactly. So I was exhausted, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't beautiful. And it doesn't mean, like, that is where we were. That is where we are in life right now. And even in the chaos, even in the hectic bit of day-to-day life, you can still have peace with where you are. You can have those moments where you feel like you're like a little bit out of whack or completely out of whack, but just know inherently that it's still good. It's still fruitful, and it can still be made holy, even when you feel like you're just gonna explode at everybody.
Somebody said, I'd love physical support. I've never had that help with my children. That's probably the most overwhelming thing for me. And that's a whole show in itself. I mean, it really is. But to touch on that, like, when it comes to mothering, it can be a hard journey. I myself, in my journey, like, Nicole has the family support with her family. We don't really have that over here. We never had that when our kids were littler. And me and Nicole actually just talked about this in the background, yesterday, or was it Friday? Friday, maybe, before you went on your trip. But it was like, in my own story, it's like, I didn't even ask for the help, though, because I feel like the children are my responsibility. Yes, like, my parents only watch my children when we live right beside them. So, like, my kids can go over and visit, but it's not, hey, let us have the kids for the weekend and you go do whatever. It's never been like that. And so it's like, everybody's situations are different, and that's why Nicole and I do what we do, because every situation is unique. Every situation has its own values that you put in the forefront. And if, physical support is something that you want, then it might look like investing in that, in a child caregiver, or, finding a family friend with a daughter who's 12 who can entertain them while you focus on those other things, or
swapping responsibilities. I know we've had it growing up. My mom and another mom would swap, and one person would do one thing, the other person would take the kids for a little while, and vice versa. And that happens a lot too. There is a solution.
There is, and it really just takes getting creative and being okay with leading something like that, starting a community of your own for moms who feel exactly like you do, like I need that physical support, but create that locally in your community so all the moms can, find that support that they're needing and get that support.
And the thing too is like even like I have that support. I've always had it even when we lived in Ohio because that's where my husband's family is. But the hardest part is asking for the help. I felt like I had to do it all. I had to do it myself. I couldn't ask them for help. And a lot of times I can't, I feel like I know I can, but I feel guilty for asking my family for help. Yesterday, I went to my friend's first profession for into the religious life, and my kids were sick. And I was going to, my mom was supposed to go, my sister, a few of my sisters went, and I was thinking about not going. And she's my best friend growing up. Like we always said, we were bosom friends, and it was really, really hard. And a hard decision because I was like, I really want to go, but I don't feel like I can ask my mom because she'd already kind of offered to stay home with my youngest. I don't feel like I can ask my mom to stay home with the kids. Like that doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair. She knows this family too. Our whole families were friends growing up, and we're all really linked. Our families are just linked in this bond of friendship, and I can't do that to her. But she's like, she knew her boundaries, and she's like, Nicole, because I did bring it up, and I did ask her. I was like, what do you want me to do, Mom? you know, and she's like, if I felt like I shouldn't, or if I should go and I couldn't take your kids, I would let you know. I'm aware about myself enough about myself at this point that I would tell you if it was not the right thing to do. And that's the key, like to know and have that awareness about yourself and about others, and to share that, like have that communication with each other to know how to have those conversations. And it really does start with having those relationships and being okay with taking the lead on some of that,
And
to really
for the support.
And asking for the support that you need. Really, the worst thing that can happen is that they can say no, and that's okay too. It's
That's
being
the scary part that most people are afraid of, is that no, because it makes us feel rejected. But we're not really rejected. It's just somebody else having that boundary set for themselves, and we should feel good about that. And one of the comments in here that says, I don't trust anyone. Again, another whole episode could be devoted to just that in itself. And then what to ask for is my huge issue. All of our friends have huge families or live far away. And yeah, I feel that too. Like, like there's, it's so good.
I feel like with me going over to friends' houses or everything, I feel like I felt for the longest time that we are the intrusion, and that I can't. Right now, we live in a very small house with barely a yard, and so I feel like I can't even invite people over because I feel like they'll be cramped. And then I feel like I can't try to initiate going to someone else's house because first, it's rude to invite yourself over to someone's house, and second, I don't want to invade with all of my children onto them. And that is a huge fear. But then it's also because every time I talk to someone about that, it's like the perspective changes to really you bring the party, you bring the fun. Like when we have the kids come together, it's about they have so much fun. Even with my sister, she was talking about they were going to grandma's house, and then her son was like, will my cousins be there? And she's like, no, they're not going to be there today. And he's like, it's not as fun without them. And really, it's like, so what perspective, what mindset around yourself and your family needs to shift in order to see your request for help in a different light, in order to see your need for assistance in a different light? Because if you know your heart, are you looking just to, dump your kids on everyone all the time? Or are you sincerely in need of help and looking to have that community and have that support and willing to give it just as much as you are to receive it? What is the truth there? And it's really understanding and knowing the truth of the situation and being okay with what their opinion might be about and how they might take it, even though you know the truth. Because we can have all these fears about what someone thinks about us, but if you know the truth of it, it doesn't matter because it's okay. And it's something Danielle and I are working on too. Like, you're not alone in that, but you also have to take that step of courage and reach out for the support that you need in order, because maybe that is what is needed to provide a better sense of structure and balance in your life in this season, if that truly is what you need, you know? So you can do all the other things, and then what's the missing pieces? Pull your schedule out, look at what these pieces are. Where are those overlaps happening that you can't tweak anymore? That just feels so overwhelming that you just want to crawl into a corner and curl up in a ball and just not move and just cry. Where are those areas? And who might you be able to reach out to for help? What friendships might you be able to nurture? What type of communities do you want to be a part of? And where are they? And start seeking those out. If you don't know anyone who you can trust, find someone who you can learn to trust and start there. It might take some time. It's not going to be an instantaneous thing that's going to happen, but it's just like mine and Danielle's friendship. It will grow and blossom and flourish over time. So if you start today, in a year and a half, you can have, or even less, you can have this beautiful friendship where you can lean on this person and they can lean on you and just share from the heart and be just true to one another. One person or many people. You don't know. And what we don't know scares us, but it also keeps us stuck. So when we can break free of that fear, we're liberated to then take that next step in our lives to move beyond that feeling and really be able to live that quality of life that we want to live. But you have to be courageous in taking that first step.
Very, very good. We just had one last comment come in, and it says, I ask for help, but my in-laws reject me or make it seem like it's a burden. It's hard to feel confident that they will be taken care of. We have lots of great friends that we trust, but everyone is spread out and so far away. And this just goes back to, sometimes we have to network. Sometimes we have to put ourselves out there and do the scary thing and make new friends. And just like Nicole was saying, trust people that we don't know. And it's like, not just hand your kids off to them and say, here, watch my kids. It's like, let's take some time to get to know these people and see if they are people that we can trust with our children, and us create something together to have the support that we need.
Yeah, I know. So there's a couple of instances where, like, my parents, they went to a new church. They didn't know anyone. There were no groups formed. They formed a young married couples group. And that network of friends that they created have been lifelong friends. This one family that I was talking about from yesterday, I've known that girl since I was 2 or 3 years old because of that group that my parents formed with these other parents. So it's possible. Go to your church. That is like the biggest place, like of I can think of trustworthy people who, if that's not your church, then discover a church that is and has that community that you want, and find and seek out those people who are in a similar boat as you and who want that same kind of support, and start fresh. It won't be overnight, and it won't necessarily be easy. And trust me, like, this is my biggest difficulty. And I know we can talk about friendships in another another video, but you won't know unless you try. In 2017, after my whole transformation, it was a group that I joined that helped me build that community and that feel that sense of community before we moved here. And we met once a week. But I knew those girls had my back and we supported each other in other ways. So what's out there? What can you form? If there isn't anything out there, who can you reach out to? Who has been on your heart lately? Like, think about it that way too. Who's been on your heart too, on who you can reach out to, and just say, hey, I was thinking about this, and you came to mind. What do you think? Just something as simple as that. If it's a no, oh, those are the hardest things. But it's not a rejection of you. Most of the time, like if you think about when you say no, what are you feeling? You're probably feeling overwhelmed. You're just like, I can't take on anything new. So
The plate is already full.
exactly. So use that perspective with someone else. When someone else says no, it's not a direct it's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of what's going on inside them. So try that perspective next time.
I agree. And, we often too got to think about the excuses that we make, because it's just like, why did I not in the beginning? Why was my eyes open during that prayer? Because I was making excuses to not be focused on that prayer. I was letting other things come into my mind. And sometimes we let the excuses and, those thoughts of what we think other people think of us, and just different perspectives, all that negative mind wash, that we let that keep us from truly having what we let it absolutely roadblock us from having what we want sometimes. And sometimes we bring it off as an excuse to not actually go out there and find what we actually need in that support wise, because pride is a big thing, ego is a big thing, and we don't want to look like that person who is needy, because we're supposed to be the providers who are providing the needs of other people a lot of times, and we have that in our minds. And there are so many different instances, and every situation is definitely unique. And that's why, Nicole and I want to get to know you better. We want to know what your unique situation is so that we can support you better in that situation. So Nicole and I have opened up 4 different spots in the coming weeks. It's 4 spots in the next 2 Fridays. So it's 2 spots Friday, November 12th, 2 spots on Friday, November 19th. And we're going to help 4 of you to structure your schedules to actually have this balance that you're looking for, that unique balance that you want to have, putting your values first, whatever that may look like. Because we all have those blind spots. And it's like, if we just had the structure down of what this could look like for us, we could manage it better. And it's like, me and Nicole want to just get together and support you in that, and help you to balance your rows, help you have a clear vision of what needs to be taking place, where you need to be focusing when, so that way, if you know what you're focused on, you can truly tune in to, okay, this is a lot more manageable. And then if anybody's interested in one of those 4 spots, just DM me. I'll tell you our schedule availability, and we'll move forward from there. But we want to support you. We want to love you. We want to know what your unique situation is, because that's the only way we can truly serve you and help you to simplify your life and business the way that you're wanting to simplify. Because that's just talking and sharing our own stories, even though we're so different and have different lifestyles, it's hard for us to communicate what we do behind the scenes, because we can literally look at your schedule, talk to you for a few minutes, and then see where the blind spots are and be like, okay, this is what needs to happen. This is how you can feel like you have a whole lot more freedom and have a lot more peace in your life if you just rearrange some things like this, or have this system and process in place here, so that way it's more efficient, more quickly, works better, and you get back to focusing on those major values of what you wanted higher up on the hierarchy in the first place. So if you want that, I'm going to let Nicole talk because she's got something to say.
It also gives us what your perspective is on something, and it helps us understand where you are, what your mindset is around it, and help you see how that might be able to be tweaked as well, so that you can look at your schedule in a whole new light. You can look at what you have going on and see it from a new perspective and a new light so that you can move forward with a little bit more peace in your heart about what's going on and know that it's okay, and knowing that this is good regardless of where you are in your circumstances in this very moment.
And no matter where you are in your circumstances, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. Somebody else has experienced that. Somebody else is experiencing that right there with you right now. And it might be that you just don't know who they are, because that's been my case in my journey. Like, the more vulnerable I become and speak what it is that I'm struggling with, the more I realize, like, oh, I'm not alone. So and so's dealing with that. And they're like just down the road. Like, but it's being open and communicating and allowing yourself to be vulnerable first, and let people know, hey, this is what I'm dealing with and I need support in this. And what does that look like? Or do you know anybody that could support me in that? It's sales all in itself. Like, it's literally sales of a business. When you need support in it for yourself, it's truly going out there and selling yourself to find that support that you need. And it's truly just ditching that pride. And that's what we have to do when we're selling in our businesses too. It's ditching that pride of wanting to look a certain way and just going out there and serving people. It's not so much of feeling icky for the sale itself. It's truly, if we go out there and serve in a way that feels aligned to us, we're going to have the sale. The sale will be there. But whenever you're trying to seek that support for yourself, it's truly letting go of, what am I trying to say here, Nicole? In a sale, you're looking for the money. But if you go out there with a serving heart, you're going to find the money. And if you ditch the pride that's holding you back and asking for the support that you need in areas of your life, you're going to get the reward of that support, and not just, the overwhelm of what you have going on in your life.
So you're serving the heart of the issue, not seeking. It's not just about searching out how much money you can receive, but searching and really trying to look at it from the heart of the issue, look at it from the problem that they are facing, and really speaking to that in a way that resonates with them because of your own story. It's because of who you are that makes whatever it is that you do unique and stand out. It's not about what you do. There are a million other people doing what you do in some way or another. It's about you and your story and you resonating with them that truly speaks to the heart of others. And that's why we share our story too, because we, again, like Danielle said, we want to serve you. We want to show you that you're not alone, that this is difficult, that, you know, there's not a perfect schedule out there, but we're all, tweaking this and working on it and really trying to live the best life that we can, that we're called to, and that God has called us to in this moment. And a lot of that really is being okay with where you are and understanding and looking to understand why God has you where you are and how you can live it out in the best way possible. And that's what that is. It's living each day out in the best way possible. It's seeking each person out in the best way possible and doing what you feel called to in each moment, and not because there's this some greater pressure to perform at a certain level for any kind of reason. The one we should quote unquote perform for is Jesus, and we're not performing for him. We are working with him, unifying our will as closely as we can with him. And the more we seek that relationship out, the more and better we're going to be able to improve the relationship that we have with everyone else and with everything else. Because you think about it, we have relationships with the people with God, the people in our lives. We have that relationship with that self stewardship and really being able to steward the person that he has created us to be. And we have a relationship, if you will, with our home, our businesses. It's a working relationship. We're constantly improving how we feel about certain things within our homes and our businesses. But it all has to be in its proper order, and really seeking to understand what is the purpose behind of this. What is that heart of the issue really about here?
Mm-hmm.
And letting that be your motive.
To learn. being open to learn from other people, and just to say, hey, what do you do about this in your life? It doesn't mean that I have to incorporate it, but it's like, what do you do in your life? Let me be
Mhm.
interested enough to see if there's something that could fit me. Doesn't mean that it's going to, but it's truly assessing how we feel about that once we've learned it, and then figuring out what's best for us. And there was something else I was going to say. We talked about, the boundaries of other people when they say no, but a lot of times in, creating these, having all these roles and responsibilities that we have for ourselves, just like I have 3 businesses. My husband and I, between the both of us, we have 3 businesses plus, wife, mom, all those things. I have to set my own boundaries and be firm with that. Me and Nicole were talking about this the other day. I take Wednesdays off from my business, but it's like there's still things that have to be done on those Wednesdays. It's not like every single Wednesday I can just go do whatever I want. There are still like life errands and different tasks that I have to get done on those Wednesdays. But my mom has recently become retired, and now it's like Wednesdays are our day, and it's like, okay, mom. we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I want that stronger relationship with my mom, and I want to spend that time with her, but there's also got to be some boundaries there. And I don't know what those boundaries are yet, but there's got to be some clear defined boundaries that are going to have to go there so that I can still manage everything that I need to manage in my life and my business.
Yeah. It's again, like we talked about in the beginning, it's knowing when to say yes and when to say no. And that can change and fluctuate with the seasons too. Certain things
Absolutely.
can close off and certain things can open up. But you have to have that awareness in order to make those choices. And it's really that awareness that helps you make that schedule, helps you create that structure, and helps you really have that quote unquote balance that you're looking for, because it's really not so much the perfect balance on the outside, it's that perfect balance on the inside that's really going to help you feel at peace with where you are right now.
Absolutely. And a great example of this is when you have a newborn. That newborn is super, super needy. And so that is top priority, is to fulfill that newborn's needs. But as they grow, they're going to need you less and less and less, but you're still going to feel like you need to hover over them and do all the things. And it's just, you have to grow through it too. You have to grow through the seasons and truly, reassess. I tell my girls all the time in business, you have to apply the scientific method. Try it out, see if it works. If it doesn't work, reassess it. You can keep trying and see if it continues to work or starts to work, or you can completely change a different path, try a new strategy, and see how that goes. And that's a lot of what we do here, but it's helping you to come up with those ideas of those strategies and seeing those blind spots and seeing those mindset curves that are, just completely blocking you from having what you want. And then we help you to truly create that structure and balance that you're wanting in your life based on who you are in your unique situation right now. So if you would like that this week or in the coming weeks, the next 2 Fridays, we have 2 spots on each Friday. If you're available for that and you're looking for this right here and you want more of that harmony in your life, trying to, just schedule everything out and have that balance between all your roles as a wife, a mom, a business owner, all the things, let us know. We're happy to support you in that and to give you more information on what time slots we have and everything like that. And we just DM me. That's all you got to do. DM me and we will chat about it and see your situation and fit you into our schedule. All right, you guys. We hope you have a fabulous week. Next week, we're going to be talking about comparison. It's basically going to boil into comparison, but the title is going to be, oh gosh, what did I say, Nicole? It's about being a superhuman. How social media can make you feel the need to be a superhuman. I think it was Amy. Amy is the one that commented on the post the other day. But we're going to talk about that and we're going to go in deep with it. But what it boils down to is comparison, and it's going to be a really good show. I can't wait to talk about it because it's really one of my biggest struggles. All right, you guys, we will see you next week. God bless. And if you need anything, we're only a message away.
Have a great day.